This is Elizabeth Whalen. She was just starting school, and she was wandering around in the lab. She works, or at that time, she worked for Columbia Forest Products, which is the manufacturer of the biggest manufacturer of hardwood plywoods in the country. And she was wandering around in the labs, and she stumbled across a soy-based glue, a non-toxic glue that could replace formaldehyde glues in plywood. Now, formaldehyde is a carcinogen, and so all of a sudden something happened to her, which is she hadn't been looking for a purpose, but she found a purpose. And her purpose was to get rid of this nasty chemical and replace it with something else. And she became very obsessed with this and began working on it. What happened was that it wasn't actually easy to sell this idea. The industry was set against her because, after all, they knew how to use formaldehyde glues. They didn't know how to use this new glue. They had to go through the process of getting it through building codes and so forth. But people were dying of cancer, and she had to do something about it. And the harder she pushed, the bigger the backlash. It became actually personally nasty, with people writing articles about what a bad person she was and writing articles about how bad the company was. And this began to really hurt. And she said, I'm really not sure how I continued at this point because, well, I was in school, I had a full-time job, and oh, I got pregnant at the same time, and yet somehow she continued working on this. And I asked her what kept her going, and she said, well, purpose. This sense that I really had something that I had to do with my life, and that this was what I was meant to do, and that actually this was not going to happen unless I made it happen. And so she carried on. And she built an alliance with nonprofits and other groups and began beating on the regulators in California, which seemed to be a soft spot. And then the Environmental Protection Agency passed an ordinance against formaldehyde glues in plywood. And now, well, Columbia Forest Products was the only company that could sell plywood in California. And actually, that's quite a business advantage when you come right down to it, right?